You're listening to Spirited Spirits, a spooky-centric podcast where we enjoy a spirit while we talk about spirits. Thanks so much for joining us. If you listened to our first episode, then you know I'm Steph.
And I'm Drew. We're again hanging out in our basement bar recording this. Our second episode.
That's right. And for this second episode, we decided to talk about a Kentucky location that has been deemed one of the most haunted places on Earth. Can you guess what it is?
I'll give you a hint. It has a body chute. Any guesses? Bueller. Do
do do do do do do. Okay, that's right. It's the infamous Waverly Hills Sanatorium. I don't know if you guessed that or not, but I'm assuming you did. We've actually been there, and we can't wait to share our experience with all of you.
Oh, yeah.
But first, we wanted to let you know what we're sipping on tonight. We have created a custom cocktail that we're calling the Waverly Wraith. It's made of gin, lemon juice, simple syrup, creme de violette or violet, and champagne. The recipe is now up on our Instagram at Spirited Spirits. If you'd like to make one for yourself while you're listening to our podcast, it's actually at Spirited_Spirits_podcast
right.
on Instagram.
Yeah, let's make sure we have the right tag.
So check on there for the recipe so you can make one while you're listening.
It's a ghostly gray, so it definitely is a spooky looking cocktail. It's cloudy. It's a little sweeter on my palate than usual for me.
Well, you like bourbon.
I like bourbon. I like things like just kind of straight and narrow. Yeah. On the drink, but
we had to do something different.
It's still tasty. It's a tasty drink.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those ones that if you drank more than two,
probably get a little drunk.
You could get a little drunk. Which if you're wanting
it's Friday
to,
night.
that's fine.
It's Saturday night now when they're probably listening to this.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's true. It's a weekend.
It's the weekend. It's 5:00 somewhere. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to give a very brief overview of Waverly Hills. I feel like most people have probably heard of Waverly because they've watched paranormal investigative shows or seen one of the most haunted places on Earth or whatever. Like, they know the gist of Waverly.
Those shows are fun. And sometimes it's fun just because you know that they're faking everything.
Well, I mean, they definitely, help things happen, right?
They
encourage.
If you watch Ghost Adventures, Ghost Bros.
Shh, babe.
I mean...
I like watching Ghost Bros. Anyway, but so just in case you're not familiar with Waverly Hills, here's the history. It's located in Louisville, Kentucky. Waverly Hills Sanatorium first opened in 1910 as a 2-story hospital to accommodate a small number of tuberculosis patients. The infamous 5-story Gothic-style building that you've likely seen, and which still stands today, opened in 1926. In its heyday, it could accommodate more than 400 tuberculosis patients. Now, tuberculosis, also known as TB, the White Plague, or consumption, is a highly infectious bacterial infection that weakens a person's immune system and slowly eats away at their lungs. You've probably seen movies where a person starts to cough up blood into a handkerchief, and you know they're sick. Yeah. They're going to die. I'm thinking of Satine in Moulin Rouge.
Or Doc Holliday in Tombstone.
Right.
I'm your Huckleberry. The movie's awesome.
But it really was an awful disease.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible.
So, according to an online Harvard Library article I found, it was the cause of more deaths in industrialized countries than any other disease in the 19th and 20th centuries. In fact, the article goes on to say that by the 19th century, 70 to 90% of the urban populations of Europe and North America were infected with tuberculosis bacillus. And about 80% of those individuals who developed active tuberculosis died from it.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it was, and apparently it was really bad in Kentucky for whatever reason.
Right.
So that's why Waverly was open. It was meant to give patients a place where they could quarantine, rest, and breathe fresh air because they have those open balconies.
Yeah, we've got some good fresh air in Kentucky.
Yeah, right. But that was said to be the best treatment for those who are afflicted with TB. But in severe cases, the medical staff would perform groundbreaking but truly, I can't emphasize this enough, horrific treatments on patients. Now, I'm not going to dive too much into the medical stuff. That's really not my thing. But I will tell you that I found stories explaining that they would cut open a person's chest and either deflate or inflate their lungs or even remove ribs to help alleviate or cure TB.
Yikes.
Yeah. And for those patients whose TB had infected their brain and their central nervous system, they used electroshock therapy on them.
Oh, like so ECT.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's actually used still nowadays for severe depression. Like it's one of those things where, and I've seen it done, which is it's freaky. It's one of those.
Remember, Drew's a social worker background, therapist background.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where if everything else fails, it's kind of like the last
resort
thing on the table. And again, like it was back when I was when I was in grad school that I saw this. But it's like, if cognitive behavioral therapy doesn't work, medication doesn't work, and there's like just severe suicidal ideations and those type of things, then they kind of say, okay, like let's try this, and that's
right. Let's just shock the shit out of them, see what happens.
I mean, it's effective.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's pretty effective.
Well, is the person still mentally there? No,
I can't answer that because I don't want to say anything like that I don't know, like truly.
It just seems detrimental to me to like have
but I think it's and it's again, it's one of those situations where it's the most severe cases, and I mean,
well, I guess that's
the patient
what it was in this case too.
I'm not gonna So, but I believe it does work.
Okay, well, I don't think it worked with TB. I don't think it worked with TB. But anyway, so Waverly closed in 1961 after an antibiotic was discovered to treat TB and a vaccine was developed. The building was renovated and it was reopened just a year later in 1962 as a nursing home known as Woodhaven Medical Services. But it was actually closed by the state just 19 years later. So the building is currently owned by Tina and Charlie Mattingly, who purchased it in 2001, and they have been renovating it while also offering ghost tours and an annual Halloween attraction to help raise funds. And speaking of which,
oh no,
the very first time we ever went to Waverly was for the haunted house. And I remember driving up that long road leading up the hill, and there was the dark, imposing brick building. Hold on. And it emerged from the woods, and it was super spooky. And I remember being terrified because I will go investigate an actual haunted place. But you give me a fake haunted place with people who jump out at you. No, I'm a wimp when it comes to that. No, I can't do it.
I'll be honest. I'm a wimp when it comes to that stuff too.
Yeah,
I can't.
Yeah, you are, because I remember that there was a creepy ass dude who was following us, and you pushed me out of the way so that you could go first through the opening into another room.
Look, man,
I was so pissed at you.
Look, man, it's every man for himself.
No, I was your freaking fiance or something like that. I don't know. Maybe we were just still dating, but I don't give a shit. You protect your girl.
At that point, it's every man for himself.
Oh, whatever. Anyway,
it's fake.
So
I knew you weren't gonna die.
What? How do you know? It could have been a serial killer. Do they do background checks? I don't know that. Do you know that?
I'm sure they do.
No, I doubt it.
I'm sure they do.
I doubt it. Anyway, so we've actually been to Waverly twice. So the second time was part of a Halloween paranormal tour, and we'll talk a little bit more about that experience because we have some more information about that. But first, I wanted to give our listeners a little bit of information about some of the most infamous or the most famous, I don't know, infamous ghost stories that are tied to the building. So, to begin, one location that seems to have a lot of activity is the body chute, right? So we talked about that, the death tunnel. Allegedly, the tunnel was first used to bring supplies up the hill.
Right.
All right? Because it is quite a hill to have to, like, drive up, and, at that point, I don't even... Well, anyway.
And Waverly was its own, like, self-sufficient place to
community,
where...
right.
Yeah, it was a community, to where if you were going to Waverly, even as, like, a nurse or a doctor...
You were going there to stay.
You weren't leaving. And so, I mean, they had, like, the garden. They had schools for kids.
I think they had their own water supply.
They had their own water supply. Mm-hmm. So this was its own community almost, because they didn't want to infect the community.
Like
the
other
outside.
people. And
like the community of Kentucky and further
right,
on.
so they just kept people quarantined, right?
Right.
We should know about quarantine now, 2 years into a pandemic.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, the body chute was used to bring supplies up the hill. But soon, it served another purpose. Disposing of corpses discreetly in an effort to keep up patient morale. See, they didn't want the patients who were suffering from TB to see how many people were dying daily from this evil disease.
And I get that. I think if you think of, the body holistically and say, okay, you're fighting this terrible disease that's killing numerous people, like 80% of people.
Right.
And if you're seeing, like, all these people getting wheeled out, like the bodies and stuff, you're not going to have the ability to even try to fight that disease. And so I think that was a good move on their part to do that. And it also provides one of the creepiest places on Earth,
right,
where things happen because so many people and souls were pushed out through that body chute.
Right, through that cement.
Yeah,
500 feet
500
long.
feet. And it's long, guys.
Yeah.
It's creepy as fuck.
Yeah. So we kind of watched a couple TV shows and preparing for this, and there were several paranormal investigators who explored the tunnel, and they heard creepy sounds. They saw strange, unexplained lights. And again, it's a 500 long cement chute.
It's a long ass chute.
Yeah, and I mean, anyway, we'll go a little bit more into that briefly in our experience at Waverly, but. Real quick, going back to the main building, each floor seems to have some type of activity associated with it. Shadow people are said to roam the halls, and not just at night. I mean, people are seeing shadow figures even during the day. So, starting from the bottom, on the first floor, where the morgue is located, the autopsy tables are still there, and you can see the stained blood in the grooves along the edges of the tables where blood would flow out of the corpses when they were doing autopsies.
Right.
Like, you can still see that. And people have claimed to hear clanging sounds, and they've experienced strange smells there on the first floor. So, that's interesting. Now, I couldn't find really anything on the second floor. Like, there just wasn't a lot. But the third floor is allegedly haunted by the spirit of a homeless man and his dog who fell, or in some stories they were pushed to their death down an elevator shaft. And owner Tina Mattingly has even told a paranormal investigator that she saw an apparition of the dog.
Oh no, a phantom pup?
A phantom pup.
A phantom pup?
So even she has seen it. But on the second, or also on the third floor, also on the third floor, Timmy, the spirit of a young boy who's said to have died in the children's ward while at Waverly, he likes to play with a blue rubber ball, which we will also talk about during our experience at Waverly.
Keep that in mind, man.
Keep that in mind. So real quick, just a little bit of history, because so many people were being brought in to Waverly to be treated for TB, a lot of times their children didn't have anywhere to go, or their children had contracted TB from the adult, and so they had to also be treated. And so there was a children's ward there at Waverly. Right. And so Timmy is said to be one of those children who died there. And some paranormal investigators will bring him a ball or something.
Or a toy.
Or a toy.
I think I've seen like people bring them like.
But I think the ball is the main thing.
The ball is the main thing.
Because he said to move the ball. Like he'll bounce the ball down the hallway. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So the 4th floor, which is where the operating rooms were located and also some of the patient rooms, it seems to have the darkest energy, and I don't know why, but it's said to be haunted by the ghost of a doctor, the ghost of a nurse, and something called the Creeper.
Nope, fuck that.
But wait for it.
No, I don't like the name.
This thing, the Creeper, which has been described as a dark, shadowy entity. It likes to crawl on all fours.
What?
All fours, along the floor, up the walls, and across the ceiling.
Nope. That sounds like
and it can probably drop down on your head.
That sounds
while you're walking.
Listeners, I don't know if you play video games, but that sounds like a licker from Resident Evil 2.
Resident Evil.
And those things scared me as a child, and fuck that. We're out. We're done.
That's what the Creeper does. It likes to crawl on walls. It also apparently likes to scratch.
Oh, fuck that.
Bite.
Yep. No.
And even mimic.
Mimic?
Yes. There's also been
like D&D?
There has been doppelganger. Like
what?
Where you've seen people who weren't really there, or people who were in a different room, but you saw them in one room. Yeah.
And that's the Creeper?
Apparently. Allegedly.
Nope.
There's some mimicking shit going on.
Nope.
I'm sorry. That sounds like a fucking demon.
Fuck a
demon.
It's a demon.
It's a demon. Okay. And lastly, the 5th floor is said to have there's 2 suicides that are associated with room 502,
which is ironic because that's our
502
area code.
Is our area code in Louisville. Whatever. Anyway, but according to legend, a nurse named Mary hung herself after she learned that she was pregnant. But there are rumors that this suicide was faked and she was actually killed during a botched abortion because she actually got pregnant from one of the doctors who worked there, and he had been married.
Nope.
Scandalous. And another nurse apparently jumped or was pushed off the balcony of the 5th floor. So people have claimed to see a nurse in uniform peeking around the corner or walking down the hallway of the 5th floor. Additionally, some investigators have also claimed to feel sick for whatever reason while they're walking around the 5th floor.
Why would you feel sick?
Well, I guess TB symptoms or pregnancy.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing that I was thinking of, was the fact that maybe possibly
pregnancy symptoms.
Yeah, pregnancy symptoms. Like the idea
sick to your stomach,
of the nurse being pregnant and then has an abortion, a botched abortion, which she ended up dying.
Mm-hmm.
And
or even if she committed suicide, which I can't imagine. I don't know.
But so my thought is that, okay, botched abortion, they staged it as a suicide.
Mm-hmm.
So then she's like,
to help people understand
what she went through.
They start to feel sick.
They feel sick, but it's pregnancy symptoms, like morning sickness and those type of things.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if energy is trying to tell you a story, then that would be the thought process.
Very smart, babe. I don't know.
So,
okay. Well, anyway, that's the gist of Waverly Hills, and the history, the ghost stories. So now we want to talk a little bit about our experience,
right? Investigating
Waverly. Early Halloween morning, 2008.
2008, guys.
We're old.
Yeah, it's really a long time ago.
It was before we were married, but okay. So I'm going to let Drew take over this part because he's really the reason why we even got to go to Waverly in the first place. So take it away, Drew.
Don't ever do that.
Whatever.
Okay, so in 2008, I was in my first year of grad school, and a local radio station was having a contest around Halloween that if you solved a number of puzzles and ciphers, you would be put into a drawing to win 2 tickets to Waverly for a special investigation on Halloween morning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, something that you folks may not know about me, I love puzzles. I love ciphers.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So in between grad school assignments in the library, I was solving these puzzles and got them all right because, you know,
you're that good.
Yeah, your boy is Sherlock.
Does that make me Watson?
Yeah, hell yeah. And so then we were put into the drawing, and soon after we got an email letting us know that we were chosen to attend the
event. Was so fucking excited. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think you liked that better than like when we got married.
No, they were about equal. Okay.
So I told my professor of my 8 a.m. class, like, hey, look, like, I have an A in your class. I'm going to be late coming in because I'm going to be hunting ghosts with my fiance at Waverly on a Halloween morning at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So she was very cool with it. She just wanted me to bring in pictures.
Yeah, and I was working at the Courier-Journal, which is a newspaper in Louisville, Kentucky, and I remember telling my boss, I was like, hey, so I'm going to go hunt some ghosts at like 5 in the morning on Halloween morning. So I may be a little late to work. And I remember he was like, sure, that's okay. Go for it.
I should also mention that as you're getting to know Stephanie and I, we also bought Ghostbusters shirts at Target.
We sure
did. And we wore the fuck out of those to Waverly.
Sure did.
Because we're that couple and we're going to dork out at the most.
Because I ain't afraid no ghosts.
Yep, there it is.
Okay.
So we brought cameras. I had a video camera.
Mm-hmm.
I had a audio recorder.
I had the video camera. You had the
video camera.
Yeah,
okay.
You had the still camera.
Right. And so we had a ton of charged batteries because we knew from watching these paranormal shows that
your batteries will die.
Your batteries will die. Mm-hmm. So we arrived to Waverly really early. Mm-hmm. I would say probably around 4:30 or 5 in the morning because there were numerous winners. So they had to split us up into separate tour groups.
Right.
So they had complimentary donuts and coffee.
Which was really nice.
That was really nice.
But we really just mainly wanted the coffee.
Right. I downed a coffee.
We were so tired.
I don't know if anybody is listening has been to grad school or anything, but coffee is one of those things where I didn't like coffee until...
He did not like coffee. I used to try to get him to drink coffee, and it wasn't until he went to grad school, and then he was like, I guess I'll have some coffee now.
And then I was like... downing red eyes. so the thing is though is like I downed this coffee, but also I wanted to see the ghost.
Right, we were excited.
Right. So we started our tour. The guide talking about the history that Steph had just discussed, snapping pictures and all that stuff, and my camera dies.
Right, pretty much as soon as we get into the building.
Immediately as we get into the building. But hey, no worries. I have extra batteries. Shove another battery in.
Right. Again, spirits are they draw their energy from electronics. So a lot of times your batteries will die very quickly because they're trying to use that energy, I guess, from the electronics to be able to produce some type of activity.
Right.
Allegedly. Go ahead.
So we're going up the stairs. As we go to the 4th floor, which Steph had talked about earlier about the creeper, the door was locked, which was odd because we'd already been able to go on like the 2nd and 3rd floor.
Yeah, I remember walking quite a bit.
And we asked the guide, like, why can't we go on that floor? And so he said that a local TV crew had been there earlier filming a segment and, quote, something pulled the reporter's hair.
Yeah, the fucking creeper did.
So there is too much activity going on that floor right now.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, let me investigate the floor, man. That's why I'm here.
No.
At this point, like
no, I don't want the creeper pulling my fucking hair. No.
But that's why we're here.
But I don't care. You don't have long hair. He's not gonna pull your hair.
You had it in a ponytail. It would have been fine.
But no.
So at this point, my camera died, again,
Right.
along with the recorder. And so I had to shove more batteries in. Again, prepared Boy Scouts.
Right,
Hashtag
okay.
Boy Scouts.
Whatever. So then we went up to the 5th floor.
Yeah, so we were walking up to the 5th floor. The guide was, discussing the infamous 502 doorway where there's hung herself. And then he started talking about Timmy, the ghost, and how much he liked toys, balls, all that stuff. So we were walking around and taking pictures of the rooms. And then there was this medium-sized, dusty blue ball that had a dent on one side in the corner of one of the rooms of this floor.
We got a picture of it too, but I remember there was a couple of women in our tour group, and they claimed that they heard the ball bounce.
Right.
Right? But we didn't hear that, or we didn't see it. We just saw the ball lying there, and it was so deflated. I don't know how that thing could have bounced.
Right. Like, that's the thing. When I said, like, there was a dent in it, I mean, this thing, I mean, it's like, it's a deflated ball. I mean, it wouldn't be able to bounce. So, yeah, keep that ball in mind as we continue through our experience here. So, after that, we went downstairs and we headed to the death tunnel. Now, if you haven't actually stepped foot in the death tunnel, let me tell you, the feeling is overwhelming. It's extremely dark. The tunnel goes on for what seems like forever, and it's unearthly quiet. I walked a few steps down and had my camera out, and again, battery died again.
Right.
So I had one charged battery left. No more for the audio recorder. That was done. Pushed the battery into the camera and got the fuck out of there because this is starting to creep me out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the whole building itself, I mean, the body shoot was obviously very creepy and had this like heaviness, but the whole building had this electricity, this energy that like I've only ever felt when we went to the catacombs, which maybe we should do an episode on.
Oh yeah, we should do an episode.
The Paris. We went to Paris for our honeymoon, and the catacombs. That's the only other place I've ever felt that electric energy, where the hair on my arms just kind of stood up straight. There's just like so much.
You just felt like something was there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There was this energy there that's unexplainable unless you've actually experienced it. So anyway, go ahead.
So after we left the death tunnel or the body chute, we walked back. The guide like walked us back to where there was coffee and donuts, and I definitely took a donut at that point. Yeah, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And so then we got to talk to the radio hosts, and shared pictures we had taken. Said thank you, and started to leave. So the sun was slowly coming up over the horizon, and the parking lot was barely lit.
Right, because the building's so tall, it kind of blocks anything anyway.
And so we walked to the car and we got in. Now, remember that ball I told you about earlier?
Right.
I turned the key to start my Honda Civic, turned the lights on, because, again, it was pretty dark in the parking lot. And there in front of the car, straight ahead, was the dusty blue ball with the deflated dent.
Directly in front of our car.
Now, audience, let me tell you, this freaked me the fuck out. The side where we found the ball the first time, on the 5th floor, was the opposite side of the sanatorium.
Right, because the building itself has been described as like bat wings.
Right.
So like the opposite side of the building is like on the other bat wing.
Right.
Like if we're on one side of the bat wing, then it's on the other side.
It's on like bat wing B.
Bat wing B.
So I looked up and there was like, because I first thought, okay, like maybe somebody threw the ball out the window or something like that. So I looked up and there was no window where someone could have thrown it out.
Right. And
we were also one of the first tours and one of the first people to leave because I had to get to class. Like I couldn't just hang around.
Right.
The fact that this ball was in front of our car when we were leaving, I can't explain that.
Right. Right. I can't either because, to be clear, there was no ball there. There was no ball in front of our car when we initially parked at like 5 a.m.
Right.
We would have seen it. You had your headlights on. When we parked, we would have seen a ball in front of your car. It was not there. So yeah, I mean, who would have put the ball there? Like,
Right.
who would have, and why us? Like, why would someone just be like, I'm gonna fuck with that couple. I'm gonna put the blue ball in front of their car. It just, yeah, it freaked us out.
And there was numerous cars in the parking lot, and so like again, like I said in the last podcast, I try to like rule out everything else before we go on the ghost train.
Right.
And so again, like it was right in front of a car. Like if you all had seen this, like I turned on my lights and it was not maybe a foot or two in front of us.
Right. It was just enough to where you could see it in the light of the.
Yeah, it was visible.
Yeah.
And if it freaked us out to where I said to Steph, like, do I run it over? Do I pick it up? Do I take it with us? Like, what do I do in this situation? Because I've never been in this situation before.
Right.
So.
Yeah. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I still feel like, because I think I told you, I was like, just fucking drive, just go. I still feel like something came home with us. And I mean, we weren't even, Andrew, Drew and I weren't living together at that point, okay? But we went to a Halloween party that night at a friend's house, and we were all dressed up and taking photos, and and in a lot of the photos, there were these orbs, and they were fairly solid looking. And look, I'm very, very skeptical of orb photos. Like, I think a lot of times they're probably just dust,
right,
or bugs. Like, I mean, seriously. But some of these orbs, they seem to have faces. Like, they were solid, or they had like faces embedded in them. And I realized, look, I get psychologically, our brains look for patterns or images in inanimate objects. What's it called?
Pareidolia.
Okay. Right. That's it. Okay, so all I know is I got the sense that something was with us for a little bit. I don't think it was with us for long, but I definitely felt that presence that night.
Like, it was Timmy.
Maybe. I mean, I just feel like something was with us for a little while. It lingered. That's the only thing I can think. Like, my intuition says it lingered.
Right.
Lingered with us. And maybe because it was Halloween night, and that's when the dead are free to roam the earth. I don't know, but
but the thing is, though, is also with Waverly and the way what this building has been known for so long is it's a very spooky place, and it does evoke like emotions and feelings and stuff like that, because you go into at night, and it's this huge like behemoth of a building.
It's almost like oppressive. It's an oppressive building.
But the thing is, though, is that I'm sure, like, hold on. It's like, I'm sure there's stuff that has happened. Mm-hmm. There has been, like, evidence of things happening. Yes. And I think people go with the pure intent of finding something, and that if they don't find something, it's a wasted trip. So they automatically feel like something's happened. But with me,
like, so what is that called? Where they like happen.
Yeah, like they will happen. Like they manifest it. Like they manifest. Yeah, they almost like manifest it into happening, or manifest something that's not real, but like they have
they go in with the intention of seeing something,
and so they're going to see something. Yeah. So, but the thing is, though, is like when I went in, because again, I don't.
You're more logical.
I'm more logical, and I feel like I don't try to go the ghost train like the first time, but I can't explain the ball.
Right.
I can't explain that because it goes. I was taking pictures. I saw the ball on the 5th floor. I took, a picture of it, but then it's like outside of our car,
right?
And it's the same fucking ball.
But like, I went in thinking something spooky is going to happen, and I was actually disappointed that not more. That things didn't happen more than I would like. I wanted more things to happen than actually happened.
That's the other thing too, is like
there's this like there's this balancing out of like people who believe and people who don't. And therefore, I wanted more. You got a little bit more than what you were expecting. And so, like...
Right, it balances out a little bit.
Yeah. It's like, I wanted to... Like, yes, I felt it was spooky. Yes, there was definitely some weird things that happened. The ball thing was creepy. But I wanted more. I wanted more things to happen. But I also have to understand that, like... There were tour groups going through every 15 minutes or something. And
it was one of those situations where they were just like...
Right, booting us in and out.
Booting us in and out. Like,
so how much can I really expect if I don't have the place to myself to really investigate?
Right. And let it breathe a little bit.
Right.
Because I think that's the other thing, too, is like this place is super creepy. And it's like...
It's just got all this energy. I mean, imagine that's your home. That is your home. Like, you're sick with TB, and that is where you live, and you have nowhere else to go, and... That's the last memory you have, and then you die, and you're left there, or I don't know. It's just it's definitely. I do think that there's imprints that are left on places.
Yeah, there's whispers. I think that's the other thing too. Is like it's the amount of people that have died there. It would be folly of me to say. Nothing could like manifest itself there. Mm-hmm. I think that's a situation where it's like there has to be something,
right?
And again, I can't explain the ball. I go back to that every time because I even preparing for this episode of the podcast, like I was like, okay, here's the ball situation. Going through the sequence of events, is there any way that I can logically explain
what happened? Yeah,
and
there's nothing.
I don't know.
Unless somebody like, I'm going to fuck with this couple.
Unless somebody was like,
we have 50 of these balls and we just put them in front of people's cars. Oh, I don't know why. I sound like what's that accent? I don't know,
but you sound like the girl from Inventing Anna. Like, this ball is not.
This ball is not a good. It is not wealthy. I don't like it. I don't know. We haven't even seen that. Whatever. I've just seen like TikToks and like reels of people doing it. Anyway, so okay. Reel it in now, babe.
Yeah, reel it in.
Okay. So if you have had listeners, hello, we're talking to you now. If you've had a spooky paranormal experience, especially if you've had an experience at Waverly, like you were visiting Waverly and something happened and you want to share it with us, we would love to know about it.
Yes, but please, like, and the thing is though, is like, again, this is a hobby for us, but we love talking about this stuff.
Yes.
We want to talk about it with you.
We want to talk about it. We want to share, like, let's be in this together.
Yeah, send us an email and just say, like,
email us.
Like, this happened to me. Even if it was not a Waverly. Like,
yeah, any type of spooky paranormal experience, we want to hear about it. So email us at contactspiritedspirits@gmail.com. Again, that's contactspiritedspirits@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at Spirited Spirits and also on Instagram at Spirited_spirits_podcast. And we'll also post some of our pictures from our experience. Now, remember, it's 2008. We took these photos on a camera. They've been compressed.
Oh, man, they're grainy as fuck.
They're super blurry. I apologize for that. But we're going to post some of those photos, see what you think. There's some orbs. Again, could be dust because Waverly is filthy. But take a look and see what you think. Let us know. We'd love for you to comment on the photos. And again, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. And we hope you will continue to join us every week as we sip on spirits and talk about spirits.
Bye.
Bye.